Have you ever looked at someone who seems to have it all together, successful, confident, fulfilled, and thought, why not me? Why do some people keep moving forward while others spin in circles, stuck in the same place for years? It's not always about talent, or intelligence, or luck. More often, it's something invisible, a set of psychological patterns running in the background, quietly deciding who breaks through and who stays stuck. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on these patterns, because once you see them, you can start rewriting them, and later we'll show you a way to break out of benign stuck that can change your life. Let's get into it. Success looks shiny on the outside, but if you zoom in, it usually starts somewhere messy, with doubt, fear, even failure. The real difference between those who succeed and those who don't, it's how they respond to those inner blocks. People who grow don't have fewer problems. They have different patterns for handling them. Psychologists call these adaptive patterns versus maladaptive patterns. Sounds technical, but it's simple. Do your thoughts and habits push you forward or keep you stuck? Understanding this difference is like getting the cheat codes to your own brain. First, let's talk about what being stuck actually means. It's not just about external circumstances. You can have a job, a partner, and a full schedule, and still feel stuck. Why? Because being stuck is about internal resistance. That little voice that says, what if I fail? Who do I think I am? I'll start tomorrow. It's a loop. Fear leads to procrastination. Procrastination leads to guilt. Guilt feeds the fear. And around you go. The longer you stay in that loop, the more it becomes part of your identity. That's how people stay stuck for years. Not because they want to, but because the loop becomes familiar. And familiar feels safe. Now we'll talk about something you can't see in the mirror, but it shapes your entire life. They're called core beliefs. Deep, often unconscious ideas you carry about yourself, other people, and the world. And the truth is, your core beliefs are either building your future or quietly sabotaging it. Think of your mind like a house. Your core beliefs are the foundation. You don't see them every day, but everything is built on top of them. If your foundation is cracked, if your beliefs say, I'm not good enough, or I always fail, then no matter how beautiful the house looks on the outside, it won't last. These beliefs are often formed early in life. Maybe someone criticized you constantly. Maybe you felt like love had to be earned. Maybe you were told not to take up space, or that your dreams were too much. These moments leave a mark, and without realizing it, we start to live as if those beliefs are facts. Next are some examples of common core beliefs that keep people stuck. I'm not enough. This one is subtle but powerful. It leads people to overwork, overgive, or never try, because deep down, they feel they'll never measure up anyway. Success is dangerous. Sometimes people fear being seen, judged, or abandoned if they grow, especially if success would make them outgrow their circle or family's expectations. If I fail, I'll be rejected. So they avoid taking risks. They play small. They'd rather stay stuck than feel the sting of failure. Nothing ever works out for me. This belief makes people stop trying. They expect disappointment, so they unconsciously create it. I don't deserve more. You'd be surprised how many people carry shame from the past and use it to self-punish by staying in cycles of struggle. Here's the tricky part. Core beliefs hide in plain sight. They often sound like your own voice. You don't question them, because to you, they feel like reality. You don't think, I believe I'll fail. You just assume you will. You act accordingly. And then, when things don't work out, it feels like proof that you were right. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. That's why these beliefs are like an invisible wall. You keep bumping into the same limitations, not realizing you built them yourself, based on someone else's voice you mistook for your own. For example, let's say you want to start a business. You take a course. You start brainstorming ideas. But underneath all that effort is a quiet belief. People like me don't succeed. So what happens? You procrastinate. You don't charge your worth. You second-guess your every move. Eventually, you burn out. You give up. And then you say, see? I knew I wasn't cut out for this. The belief created the behavior. The behavior created the result. The result reinforced the belief. This is how people stay stuck, not because they don't want change, but because their beliefs block them from ever believing it's possible. So, can you change core beliefs? Yes. But it's not about repeating affirmations or pretending you feel confident. Changing core beliefs starts with awareness. You have to notice the story you're telling yourself and ask, where did I learn this? Is it true? Is it mine? And then you have to act differently, even before you believe differently. You try something new, you take a risk, you speak up, and slowly your brain begins to rewrite the story. The belief shifts from I can't to maybe I can, from I'm not enough to I'm growing and that's enough for today. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. If your life feels like it's on repeat, if you're frustrated, tired, and asking yourself, why can't I just get unstuck? Look inward, not at your goals, not at your habits, but at your beliefs. Because the real work of transformation happens not when you change your results, but when you change your relationship with yourself. Your success isn't blocked by your abilities. It's blocked by the invisible wall you didn't know you were living behind. But once you see it, you can break through. Let's get honest about something we all feel. Fear, and not the kind that jumps out in horror movies. We're talking about the quiet fear, the everyday kind, the fear of change, the fear of failure, the fear of being seen. Now pair that with its best friend, comfort. Comfort is cozy, it's predictable, it's the same routine, the same choices, the same way of thinking. And it's where most people live, not because it's better, but because it's safer, or at least it feels that way. Here's the psychological truth. Fear keeps you small. Comfort keeps you there. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. It would rather keep you in familiar pain than risk the unknown. So even if you hate your job, feel stuck in your relationships, or know you're capable of more, that leap into something new, it triggers alarm bells in your nervous system. What if I fail? What will people think? What if I'm not enough? And so you settle, not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system is saying, let's stay where it's safe. Here's a twist no one talks about. The comfort zone isn't actually comfortable, it's just familiar. It's that same old relationship pattern, that same fear of speaking up, that same procrastination cycle. Deep down, it doesn't feel good, but it feels known. And the brain prefers known discomfort over unknown success. That's why people may want to grow, but still stay stuck. Because growth means leaving the shore of what you know. And most of us weren't taught how to swim in those waters. Fear is very clever, and sometimes doesn't sound like I'm scared. It sounds like, now's not the right time. I'll do it once I have more experience. What if I lose what I already have? These thoughts feel rational, even responsible. But often, they're just fear in disguise. Success requires risk, vulnerability. It requires being seen, judged, or even rejected. And unless you learn how to befriend fear, it will talk you out of every opportunity your future self is begging you to take. Let's break down some common ways fear operates. Overthinking. You analyze every detail until you're paralyzed and take no action. Perfectionism. You keep tweaking and never finish because launching would make you vulnerable. Avoidance. You say, I'm too busy, or distract yourself with Netflix, food, or scrolling. Control. You try to micromanage outcomes so nothing feels risky. These are all defense mechanisms. And guess what they defend? Your comfort zone. So, what's the way out? It's not by being fearless. It's by being brave while still feeling fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move forward with it in your backpack. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to take a small step. Again and again. And eventually, what once felt terrifying becomes familiar. That's how the comfort zone expands, from the inside out. The truth is, many people stay stuck not because life is too hard, but because they've settled into a life that's too easy to question. And that is how comfort slowly dulls your drive. It numbs your dreams. It makes the idea of trying feel exhausting before you even start. But you were made for more than repeat loops. And here's a powerful reminder. Growth hurts, but so does staying stuck. You just get to choose your pain. Every big breakthrough has a fear wall in front of it. The question is, will you face it? Success isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about feeling afraid and still choosing to act. Because everything you want, the confidence, the purpose, the peace, lives just beyond what's familiar. You don't need to leap today. You just need to take a step, even a shaky one. Now you might be wondering, okay, but why does this really matter? Because staying stuck doesn't just mean missing goals. It means missing life. When you live in cycles of self-doubt, you don't take risks. You don't express yourself fully. You start shrinking your dreams to match your fear. The cost is huge, not just in money or time, but in aliveness. The version of you that's stuck is only a fraction of who you're meant to be. Success isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. That's what's at stake. So what do successful people do differently, psychologically? 1. They take responsibility, not in a shame-based way, but in an empowered way. They see life as something they co-create. 2. They tolerate discomfort. They don't wait to feel ready. They act even when they're scared. 3. They reframe failure. Instead of proof that they're not good enough, they treat setbacks as information. What can I learn? 4. They challenge their thoughts. Instead of believing every self-critical idea, they question it. 5. They create structure, habits, environments, and routines that keep them moving when motivation fades. It's not magic, it's patterns, and any pattern can be relearned. So why do some people keep spinning their wheels in the same place, while others seem to grow, evolve, and move forward? Why do some people hear the same motivational advice, read the same books, even go through the same hardships, but only one of them breaks through? It's not about talent, it's not about luck, and it's definitely not about how many productivity hacks you've saved on Instagram. It's about invisible patterns. And the truth is, some people stay stuck because their inner wiring tells them that staying stuck is safer than moving forward. Let's unpack this. 1. Fear of the unknown. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is because they're more comfortable with what's familiar, even if it's painful, than what's unknown. The brain's primary job isn't to make you happy, it's to keep you safe. And to your brain, familiar equals safe. Even if that safe looks like toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, or self-sabotage. Moving forward means stepping into uncertainty, trying something new, risking failure. For a nervous system that's been trained to survive, that can feel like danger. So we stay put, not because we're lazy, but because deep down, we're afraid of what we can't control. Second-old identity patterns. Here's another tough truth. Some people stay stuck because they're loyal to an old identity. You see this all the time. I'm just not good with money. I've never been the confident type. I always mess things up. These aren't just thoughts. They're scripts, deeply embedded beliefs that shape how we see ourselves. And the scary part? If your success challenges that identity, your mind might sabotage you just to stay consistent with who you think you are. Growth means saying goodbye to who you used to be, and for many people, that's terrifying. 3. Emotional baggage from the past. Let's be honest, a lot of us are dragging emotional weight from childhood, past relationships, or traumatic experiences, and wondering why we can't run freely. If you grew up with criticism, chaos, or conditional love, your inner world might be wired around survival, not self-belief. So every time you try to move forward, that old emotional blueprint kicks in. You'll mess it up. Who do you think you are? Better not get your hopes up. This isn't about weakness. This is about unhealed pain. And until it's addressed, it will keep showing up in your patterns. 4. Avoidance of discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Let's not sugarcoat it. Change often feels awkward, vulnerable, even painful. And here's the thing. Most people have been trained to avoid discomfort at all costs. We scroll, snack, shop, or stay busy, anything to not feel what we're feeling. But success requires discomfort. Facing rejection, starting from scratch, taking risks. The people who stay stuck are often the ones who avoid discomfort instead of working through it. It's not that they can't succeed, it's that they've never learned how to be okay with the hard parts of growth. 5. No internal safety net. Some people stay stuck because they never learned how to hold themselves through hard things. If you don't feel emotionally safe within yourself, if your inner dialogue is harsh, fearful, or critical, then every setback feels like proof that you should give up. But when you've built an inner sense of compassion and resilience, you can fall without crumbling. You can fail without quitting. You can keep going even when it's hard. Without that inner safety, most people freeze, panic, or fall back into the old pattern. 6. Waiting for the perfect conditions. This one might sound familiar. I'll start when I feel more confident. Once I finish this course, then I'll go for it. I just need to get everything in place first. Here's the trap. Waiting for perfect conditions is how most people stay stuck forever. There is no perfect moment. There is no version of you that will wake up 100% ready. The people who move forward, they start messy. They show up scared. They take action before they feel ready, because waiting is comfortable, but starting is what creates momentum. 7. Lack of emotional support. Sometimes people stay stuck simply because they're trying to do everything alone. They have no mentors, no safe community, no one who believes in them when they're full of doubt. Success doesn't happen in isolation. We need people, encouragement, accountability, examples of what's possible. When you feel alone in your struggle, it's easy to lose hope, to settle, to shrink. But when you have even one person who believes in your potential, everything starts to change. People don't stay stuck because they're weak or broken. They stay stuck because their patterns, emotions, and beliefs have never been given a chance to shift. But here's the good news. Once you see your pattern, you can change it. Once you name your fear, you can face it. And once you stop waiting for permission, you can create a new path. You're not behind. You're not hopeless. You're just at the part of your story where everything starts to turn. Keep going. Now let's get to the part that really matters. How do you actually change these patterns? Because it's one thing to understand why we stay stuck. It's another to actually do something about it. Here's the truth. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. But you do need to rewire the patterns that are keeping you small, scared, or spinning in circles. And no, it's not about forcing yourself into motivation or hustling harder. It's about making small, consistent shifts that retrain your mind, body, and emotions to respond differently. Let's break it down into 5 steps that anyone can follow. 1. Awareness. Name the pattern. The first step to changing a pattern is seeing it. You can't change what you can't name. Start asking yourself, what do I always avoid? Where do I keep repeating the same mistake? What story do I tell myself when things go wrong? Maybe you freeze when it's time to take action. Maybe you people please to avoid rejection. Maybe you give up when things get uncomfortable. Just notice it. Don't judge yourself. Don't shame yourself. Say compassionately, there it is. Awareness isn't weakness, it's power. It's the first crack in the cycle. 2. Understand the root. Where did this come from? Every pattern has a story, and that story usually started when you were too young to realize what was happening. Maybe you learned to stay small because you were punished for speaking up. Maybe you learned to avoid conflict because love in your house always came with tension. These beliefs weren't random. They were survival strategies. Your younger self was doing their best. But what kept you safe then might be keeping you stuck now. So ask yourself gently, who taught me this way of being? What was I trying to protect myself from? When you understand the root, you create space to grow beyond it. 3. Interrupt the loop. Choose a new response. Once you know the pattern, the next step is to interrupt it. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. Just do something different, even something small. If you always say yes when you want to say no, try saying, "Let me think about it." If you avoid starting a project because you fear failure, set a timer for 5 minutes and just begin. If your pattern is perfectionism, practice finishing something at 80%. The point isn't to be perfect, the point is to break the autopilot. Every time you do, you rewire your brain's default setting. 4. Create safety, rewire your nervous system. Here's what a lot of people miss. Changing patterns isn't just mental, it's emotional and physical too. Your nervous system needs to feel safe to do something new. Otherwise, it'll pull you right back into old habits. So how do you create safety? Slow down when you feel overwhelmed. Breathe deeply when your fear rises. Ground yourself. Stand barefoot on the earth. Place a hand on your chest. Say, "I'm okay right now." Also, surround yourself with people who see you, people who believe in your growth, not just your comfort. You don't have to do this alone, but you do need to create an inner space that feels safe enough for change. 5. Repeat with compassion. Practice over perfection. The final and most important step, practice. Rewiring your patterns isn't about flipping a switch, it's like strengthening a muscle. You don't go to the gym once and expect results. You return, you show up, you do the reps. Some days will be easy, others will feel impossible. That's normal. What matters most is how you talk to yourself when you fall back into the old loop. Not with shame, not with punishment, but with kind understanding. Say to yourself, "That's okay. I noticed it. I'm learning. This is part of the process. I get to try again." Change happens in the repetition, but transformation happens in the way you treat yourself while you're repeating. You don't need to be someone else. You don't need to force or fake your way to success. You just need to become more of who you already are, without the old programming running the show. When you bring awareness to your patterns, choose differently, and do it with compassion, you're not just breaking cycles, you're becoming free, and that's what success really is. If this video opened something up for you, give it a like and hit subscribe. We break down deep psychology in simple language every week. Share this with someone who's ready to break their stuck pattern too. And in the comments, let us know, what's one belief or pattern you're ready to change? Because when you name it, you start to reclaim it. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're not stuck, you're just one pattern away from breakthrough. We'll see you in the next video.